What does it
You got
mean?
me.
It is finished. Go.
Oh, to tell us thy. It is the word, it's I think that's only in John, right?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yes.
It's in John. And in the synoptics, we have Yeshua, at least we're recorded the beginning of what seems to be a recitation of Psalm 22, which is a beautiful psalm. You should read the whole psalm and understand that Yeshua's thoughts at that moment probably cohere to the entirety of the psalm, not just the sentiment of the first line there. But in any event, I see it as Yeshua expressing that he has done in the incarnation. He has come to the full end of his active obedience in his ministry on earth. And he's already, we know from the garden where he's weeping and sweating drops even of blood. And he said, my soul is weary even unto death. He's already experiencing, they haven't even beat him yet or any of the horrible scourging or whipping or mocking or spitting or any of those things haven't even happened yet. And his soul is already bearing a weight that we can't even fathom. And especially when his disciples, can't stay awake with him to pray. So, but I see it that he has indeed been obedient, breath by breath, thought by thought, step by step, the entire walk of his life. And this is the last word of the completion of this offering, not just of his being on the cross, but of all his earthly ministry, all he ever taught, all he ever healed, his rebukes, his gentleness, all these things were comprehensively come to their fulfillment. There was nothing left undone in terms of the earthly side. But then I think it's in Luke. He says, into your hands I commit my spirit. So now that doesn't mean, of course, still ascension and ongoing intercession are yet to come. So those, we wouldn't include those in terms of what Yeshua is saying is finished. And I would just say also that this has to do with a necessary term of the Brit Chadashah, right? The Yeshua offering his life. And so this is a necessary building block to the long-term or the big picture produce of goodness, of blessing that is still yet to come.
Okay.
That it was necessary. So I'm going to hand over to Tim because I think Tim will do.
Well, I agree with you, and I think it has to do primarily with the fact of the one who is eternal in his life, experiencing human death, but experiencing it in a way that is greater than any other human because he is without sin. In other words, death is the result of sin. He has not sinned, so he has an infinite holiness in his life, and he's giving that up to death. I think it's very interesting that it says in Philippians 2, he became obedient to death. We don't have that option. Death will come and take us according to God's timing of our lives and so forth. But he voluntarily gave himself up to death. And so I think it's interesting, too, that we discover in Greek literature that, at least as best I can tell, that in the Olympic races, when the runner came across the finish line, came into the city and came across the finish line, he also yelled Tetelestai, the same thing that Yeshua did. In other words, the race that Yeshua was in was the giving of his life, and now it had come to the point where it would be finished. And I think another reality that we read in John 17, verse 4, he puts it in past tense because he's in John 17, it's as though he has already ascended, because he says, I'm no longer on the earth.
Right.
In other words, he's transported himself, as it were, to the finish line and beyond the finish line. And he says, I have glorified you, speaking to the Father, on the earth, having accomplished the work which you have given me to do. So when he sees that, when he envisions the coming death, that is, he has accomplished that unspeakable and unfathomable gift of life given for us that only he could give.
Right. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and check out more videos from Messiah Matters.